Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support, and let's get into it. So after Spider-Man No Way Home and its ending and all the implications it has for Peter's life, today's video is going to be predictions for the future of MCU Spider-Man after No Way Home. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts and predictions or what you want to see for Peter Parker and the confirmed college trilogy that Peter is going to have in the MCU. That's very, very exciting. I'm super glad we're going to get 3 more Tom Holland Peter Parker movies and all that good stuff. I'm super excited about that, and I hope you guys are too. I'm going to issue a spoiler alert for No Way Home. With all that being said, let's get into the predictions. The first thing we're going to talk about is story ideas. So, as you know, at the end of No Way Home, no one remembers who Peter Parker is. He literally has no one in his life, which, if you think about it, is really, really sad. And so he has his GED little book and um and stuff like that, and he just moved into his apartment. He's gonna have to get a job and everything like that. So I think where we're gonna see Peter at least start off at is that he is going to go probably just like a community college. He definitely can't get into MIT without any like previous academic records or anything like that. So he's probably just going to go to a community college, which will allow him to really focus on being Spider-Man and getting a job and paying rent and everything like that. I would personally like to see him work at the Daily Bugle, just like every Spider-Man has before, or for the most part. I think that the MCU has a really interesting chance at really exploring a lot of the Spider-Man mythos, side characters, villains, storylines, stuff like that. I don't think they can get to quite everybody. Like, for example, I don't think they can quite get to every single Spider person that's ever existed, but I think they can get really, really deep into the Spider-Man mythos and deep into the Spider-Man bag, which I think is super cool and very, very, very exciting. I definitely think Peter's going to get the symbiote suit. I think he'll definitely be attracted to Peter's kind of rage and despair, kind of definitely at least at the beginning of MCU Spider-Man 4, just because, as you know, in the post-credit scene, whenever Tom Hardy's Venom got transported back to his universe after Doctor Strange's spell, a little bit of that symbiote was left on the bar. And so I think it's going to find its way to Peter. I think it's going to be attracted to Peter because Peter's not going to be in the best emotional state. And I think what could be really interesting is if we get an adaptation of Kraven's Last Hunt, which is one of the best Spider-Man stories of all time. I think that'd be really cool. I don't think once the Venom symbiote leaves Peter, because I don't think Peter will keep it. He might, who knows. I don't anticipate that he will. I would assume it probably won't go to Flash and he become Agent Venom. I don't think MCU's Flash could pull that off, but maybe they recast Eddie Brock, or they bring Tom Hardy back into their universe, or something like that. They could easily do that. Or they just recast an MCU Eddie Brock, which I really don't think would be their best option. I think they should just do some more multiverse shenanigans and bring Tom Hardy in, but they'll figure it out. Or in the comics, once again, not that I've read that, Scorpion does get the symbiote, so maybe there for a little bit he could be Venom or whatever, but I'm sure they'll figure out Venom. I don't think they'll do Carnage, especially since they already killed Carnage and Venom Let There Be Carnage. He's kind of out the door. I really don't know if any of those symbiotes would be worth exploring, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. The main thing I anticipate, though, regardless, is that Peter is eventually going to circle back to MJ, especially after they confirm that Zendaya's MJ is Michelle Jones Watson, making her a true MJ variant. I really anticipate that Peter will circle back to MJ in some way. So those are kind of like my main big predictions. As far as new characters I want to see in the trilogy, the ones I'm really keened in on are Black Cat and Miles. I'll talk about Black Cat first. I absolutely love Black Cat as or I love Black Cat in the Spider-Man PS4 game. She's way better than MJ in that game, but I digress. I really think Black Cat will be a great love interest, especially right after um, this Peter has to let go of MJ. You know, she's very flirtatious and doesn't know who's behind the mask, and it'll be real tempting for Peter, especially if Peter has the Venom symbiote. Black Cat and Venom symbiote Peter would just, I think, would be just so good. It'd be flirtatious and tempting and everything like that. I think honestly, um, they would probably be antagonizing forces at first, but then they'd probably team up against someone who hired Black Cat, probably someone like Kingpin or something like that. Who once again I don't think is dead after Hawkeye, and I think it could be really, 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 really well done. Another potential love interest that I think is going to be harder for them to manage is Gwen Stacy. Um, I would love for Peter or for there to be a Gwen Stacy in the MCU. Um, I think that would be, or having Gwen just really, really like Peter because he is Peter, um, would be really nice because it would be it would help. Gwen would help this Peter open back up after everyone has forgotten who he is, and for him to kind of allow people back into his life. I think that would be really good. I think the only problem is if they intend on circling back to MJ, how they're going to handle getting Gwen out of the picture. Because Black Cat is very flirtatious and tempting, but she's definitely not a permanent love interest or not a permanent like partner for Peter. Um, but Gwen definitely is. I don't know if the MCU would want to do the death of Gwen Stacy again, especially after, despite that movie's flaws, TASM 2 does it great. Um, I don't really know how they would handle that if they end up trying to circle back to Zendaya's MJ. Um, but I would love to see Gwen because I definitely think Gwen would be a great romantic partner for um, Peter as he tries to open back up. And I think it'd be a great dichotomy to watch Peter juggle um, Black Cat and Gwen at the same time. Someone who likes Peter for Peter and someone who likes Peter for Spider Man. I think that would be a great duality. I think that would be awesome. And I definitely think that this Peter could pull off juggling two love interests. Someone I'm interested to see is how they handle the potential introduction of Harry Osborn. I think Timothy Chalamet would be a fine casting. Tom has advocated for that, so that's why I just went ahead and put him up there. I think Tom would be absolutely terrified of Harry Osborn. Like, would not want anything to do with him, especially after his interactions with Norman and Green Goblin and No Way Home. So I don't really know how they would handle Harry in that type of situation. Maybe Harry's the one that starts Oscorp and everything like that, and he befriends Peter, but I'm not really sure how that's going to work or happen. So I'm interested to see that. I don't really have any ideas for Harry, but I really think something that's for sure going to happen, especially after Electro says, you know, I figured you'd be black to Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and there's got to be one out there in the multiverse. I definitely think Miles is on his way to the MCU, and I definitely think that would be kind of similar to Gwen, another step in Peter opening back up and letting people into his life as he mentors Miles kind of before he even gets spider powers, but especially afterwards and mentoring Miles and stuff like that, and to watch them team up and stuff like that would be really, really cool and really awesome. And I definitely, for sure, thinking Miles could um, be on his way, and that would especially be good as maybe Tom Holland feels that he ages out, or Tom Holland gets too old to be in college or to be like a college aged individual, that they could phase kind of Peter out and let Miles take over the spotlight. That'd be a natural transition, which I think would be really good for all parties involved. As far as villains, I definitely think Scorpion is on his way. He doesn't know who Peter is, but he's already been established in the MCU, so that's perfect. I think he could be kind of really good, especially if Peter's going to have the symbiote, maybe like kind of starting off with. Um, I think Kingpin, like once again, I said, I don't think he's dead. I don't think he died in Hawkeye. I think he could be a really, really good, interesting villain, especially as Peter continues to battle his or battle for New York, kind of, and keep him to be a great antagonizing force. Craven, I know that they've casted Aaron Taylor Johnson as Craven in the Sony verse, but they could easily just pull some multiverse shenanigans and get him in the MCU, especially if they're going to do Craven's Last Hunt. I really think that would be super good. So I definitely expect the three of them to be in the picture. Some I don't think anyone that they used in No Way Home is going to make the cut, so I don't expect there to be a new Doc Ock, a new Green Goblin, a new Sandman, a new Electro, or Lizard. I don't really expect any of them to make an appearance. And Spider-Man's got plenty of rogues, so that's not an issue. So someone that Peter could have is like a new Rhino, and actually like a good Rhino, and Mr. Negative. I think they could all be really good. And I think eventually this Peter is going to get his own Sinister Six. I think there's probably a reason why none of the villains of No Way Home were his, because they were kind of saving that down the road for a Sinister Six project. It could look something like Vulture coming back, Mysterio, who I don't think actually died in No Way Home, Scorpion, Kingpin, Kraven, and Rhino. That'd be one hell of a Sinister Six for Peter to go against, but I think it would be a reasonable one that he could reasonably defeat. Maybe if they went against some multiverse shenanigans, you throw Morbius or Venom in there, but I'm not completely sure. But I definitely think that MCU Peter's going to get his own Sinister Six, and it will be like a Sinister Six project, which I think will be super interesting. Next, we're going to talk about crossovers. So, Kevin Feige and Tom Holland did not fight this hard for Spider-Man just to do solo movies. He's definitely going to be in some crossovers, especially if Disney and Sony continue to play nice. I really think that Peter's going to be here to stay for a really long time in the MCU. I definitely think he's going to have some interactions with the Fantastic Four. In the past, he's been a member of the Fantastic Four. Him and Johnny Storm are really good friends in the comics and everything like that. And so I definitely anticipate him having some interactions with the Fantastic Four. He's definitely going to be in the next Avengers movie. This is just kind of like a mock Avengers lineup I threw together, but I think he's definitely going to be in the next Avengers movie. He's definitely going to be a prominent player. Right there with, I would definitely say he's one of the locks, right there with like Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and Wasp and Sam and Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange. I think the 7 of them are locks for sure. And I can just kind of throw Rhodey and Jane Foster Thor in there. It's just kind of extras, but I definitely think the bottom 7 on the front row are definitely locks to be in the next Avengers lineup. And just continuing to, if they continue to do some like multiverse stuff and they continue to play nice with Sony, there could be some crossover between some of the Sony properties like Morbius. MCU Vulture is in the Morbius movie. And so that's something. So I definitely could see like maybe a Spider-Man and Blade team up versus Venom and Morbius. I think that'd be cool. I think this might be a little too ambitious of an ask, but I think if Sony and Marvel really, really play nice, and they wanted to do a Null storyline, I really, really think that would be really ambitious of them, but I think they could definitely pull it off. I don't know if they necessarily want to set that inside the MCU, but it would be really, really interesting, and I think it'd be really good. And in some MCU crossovers, I could definitely see just like street level, like one-on-one crossovers. Spider-Man and Daredevil, especially if Kingpin's going to be a big threat in Spider-Man's life, and Spider-Man and Deadpool. I just think they'd be really funny together, and I think that'd be really good. I think Spider-Man's got a lot of crossover potential, and I think Marvel and Disney and Sony are very interested in making sure they maximize that crossover potential. So I definitely could see all this happening. So that's all I got for you today. Those are my predictions for what the future of MCU Spider-Man holds. What I really want to emphasize on is I really, really hope that they do Kraven's Last Hunt, that they introduce Black Cat and Miles. I think if they really do those 3 things, I think I'll be very, very satisfied, and they can kind of do whatever else they want. But those are just my thoughts. What are some of your predictions? What are some things you'd like to see? Make sure you check out all the link content, and you guys have a great day.